Damn it! All right, that's because I'm not drinking. Welcome to this week's episode of Timesink, the weekly podcast to let you know what's worth sinking your time into. I'm your host, Sauce, and I'm joined by Mr. Hummer.
Evening, Sauce. Noise complaint.
And Tito.
Happy to be here.
We got a great episode for you this week. This week we're going to talk about what's hot in PS5 news. We're going to talk about what's worth sinking your time into. King of Staten Island, Artemis Fowl, The Platform, more of The Last of Us, and then we're going to dive into all three John Wicks that Hummer's seen for the very first time. Stick around. We're going to get right into it.
In one day.
I would do the same thing if I saw John Wick 1.
You're so lucky.
I couldn't stop, man. Just couldn't stop.
This week, we got a look at some of the new PS5 games coming out. Hummer, did you get to check this out at all?
PS5 or PS4?
PS5.
No one cares about PS5. Its solid-state hard drive is a bunch of baloney.
Yep, that's right. No hype, no buzz coming out about the PS5.
Probably going to be a huge flop.
Xbox or die.
I thought you were a PC guy.
Well, if I'm going to be switching between the two, it's play where all my friends are.
Well, all your friends are going to be playing Spider-Man Miles Morales when the PS5 comes out. That's probably the game that, out of all the trailers, I was most excited about. It was between the new Spider-Man Miles Morales and the new Horizon Zero Dawn, which were probably two of the best games that came out in 2018, I think was the year both of those came out. Very excited. Miles Morales was in the first Spider-Man game. He's one of the newer Spider-Man characters. If you're not familiar with Spider-Man, he's kind of the new... Peter Parker is still the main character, but Miles Morales is his own character. He's got his own series. He's up and coming. He's young. He's hot. He's got a black outfit. I'm pumped for this game. I love Peter Parker, but his story's been done a million times in a million different ways. I'm interested to see something new in Spider-Man and very interested to see it in video game form. What do you think, Sauce?
Yeah, I'm really excited because one thing you're missing, Hummer, is PS5 has the best single-player games. So I know
it
back
really
when we were recommending consoles, we recommended Xbox and Switch, but really if it's just you by yourself and you're a sad, lonely boy, it happens. I've been there. So, yeah, it's got the best single-player games. And Spider-Man, the PS4, the new one, was one of them. So when I saw that they were making Spider-Man Miles Morales, I was concerned because I loved the first Spider-Man, and I wanted part two. I wanted more Peter Parker. I know Tito said he's been overplayed, but we haven't had a really amazing Spider-Man game with just Peter Parker, and I don't know, that one was a 10 out of 10, so ever, or at least in a long time. So I wanted more of that.
Good.
And so I was like, oh no, it's just going to be Miles Morales. Not that I mind because Miles Morales is awesome, but I felt like I was losing out. But then they announced that it's a standalone game. So it's like a mini story, like a little bit more than DLC. And it's going to be in between before the second Spider-Man comes out. So we're getting the best of both worlds. And Horizon Zero Dawn too.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth. It's a weird mixture of, like, it seems like they chickened out and just didn't go with a new main character for Spider-Man, which I kind of get. And there is going to be a Spider-Man 2 starring Peter Parker is what it sounds like. Miles Morales Spider-Man is its own separate thing. It seems like it's essentially a sequel, and they're just not calling it that. I was a little sour about it at first, but Sauce came in, glass half full, called it best of both worlds, and, I prefer to see it that way now.
It's like a spin-off comic.
Yeah.
If there was a game that, makes me jealous, gives me that feeling that I want to get one, Spider-Man is the one that's that's gotten me the closest to pulling the trigger on getting a PS4. So if Spider-Man is as good as what you guys are saying it is, and as good as this game potentially could be, maybe that's what pulls me over the edge in grabbing a PS5. And maybe actually instead of an Xbox, since from what I'm hearing and reading, if you're talking news, there are going to be no Xbox exclusives. They're all going to be done for both PC and Xbox.
Yeah, not only that, but like even a lot of the I think Halo Infinite, you don't need to get the newest Xbox. You could play it on Xbox One X. And then what is amazing that Xbox is doing is that if you buy it on one system and you upgrade to the new system, you don't have to buy it again. You'll automatically get it for the new system. But it's almost like you don't really need to get the new system because you can still play it on your current system.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of taking it the PC route is really what they're doing. They're saying, look, you can upgrade your hardware whenever. Don't worry about where your games are. Play it anywhere, and that's cool. But like you guys make a good point with PlayStation having all these exclusives, and yeah, I hear you guys talking about it, and I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's awesome. So PlayStation has honestly the best single player games, and I regularly, when I don't know when I'm going to have time, when I don't know who's going to be available, if the game is just really good, I will regularly just check out of Xbox for a few weeks and just burn through or try to burn through one of these games. Spider-Man is absolutely like a must-play game in my opinion. Horizon Zero Dawn is a must-play game in my opinion. And if the same people are using the same concepts and the same characters to make new PS5 games, I would highly recommend it. I kind of want to figure out a way just to like let you borrow my PS5 so you can play Spider-Man and play Horizon Zero Dawn just to get your fingers in those pies. Have a taste, see if you like it.
And Last of Us.
And oh my gosh, yeah, of course. Start with Last of Us.
Well, I mean, honestly, like, and I think this is where we had just left off is we were talking about, there is a legit choice that I may be able to just get a PS5 and not worry about anything else because with Xbox's new releasing, their new strategy, most games are going to be ported or made for PC as well. And so as long as this crossplay is becoming mainstream between PC and Xbox, there's honestly no reason for me to get an Xbox and just get a PS5 and rock those two consoles.
Yeah, honestly, I might wait on a Xbox Series X and because there's other than Halo, Tito's looking shocked. But other than Halo, there's nothing coming out that I really need to play on Xbox, the new Xbox.
And if it's crossplay, once again, you can just play on your PC.
Right.
Yeah. Xbox is cool mostly because I play with you guys, but the games that I play on there, Overwatch, Fortnite, well, not Fortnite so much anymore, Apex, those are widely available. Those are not Xbox exclusives. I played Control on there, not Xbox exclusive. So, yeah, I think that they're...
Game Pass. Game Pass is awesome.
Game Pass is good. But you can get...
It's also there for PC.
Yeah, you can get it on PC. So
I think I'm going to wait to buy a Series 1X until a special edition comes out. Because I don't really like that big black box. I want to get a cool Halo-themed one or something.
It wasn't really that big, though, if you actually look at the size of it. It was almost just as wide as a controller.
Depends
and
on
maybe
your
2 or 3. Maybe he was upset that it wasn't big enough, wasn't actively representing the market.
I don't need to overcompensate with my box.
So I think one thing that'll be interesting with the new next-gen systems is, first, if just for hypothetical purposes, if Xbox releases some interesting exclusive games and puts it more into the debate, what the cost will be between the two systems. If one costs significantly more than another one, I think that might be a huge deciding factor between the two of them, because I imagine they're both going to be pretty expensive. At least $400, probably heading up into the $500s, and for special editions, even higher than that.
Yeah, but I think for sure PlayStation's going to be more, but honestly, they're killing it with the best and the most exclusives right now, so far, from what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, they're predicting in between $499 and $549 for PS5, and I honestly imagine that Xbox would be similar pricing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which given the hardware that you're going to see in the two systems, I don't think that's unreasonable, because essentially what you're getting a gaming PC. You're getting a gaming PC that the specs that you're purchasing today are better actually than what's currently out on the market for a PC. Like today, you cannot build a PC that is better than what will come in the Xbox One X or Series X or the PS5. That's going to change down the road. But look, for $499, that's a steal if this is what you want to play high quality HD games in. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a console. Like, I'm certainly
it'll last for a long time too.
It'll last, and and then depending on the system that you're going with, Xbox strategy of allowing you to just upgrade the box whenever you want. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing an upgrade cycle with Xbox that's no longer 10 years. You're going to see more. I think you're going to see bigger jumps in hardware than what you saw going from the Xbox to the Xbox One X. I think you're going to see more of that with this generation, because there's no next gen. It's Xbox's plan is to have one gen, and all you're doing is incrementally increasing the graphics capabilities of the games.
I think that what they're going to do is adopt more of like a cell phone policy. So where you're just upgrading it, every couple of years, but you're still going to get like the same Game Pass type service.
Right on.
So moving on, Hummer, what'd you watch this week?
Wow. Not Top Gun. I definitely will save the surprise, but I watched a new release, and I believe Tito watched this one as well. The King of Staten Island.
Yep.
What's it about?
What were your thoughts on that, Tito? What's your synopsis of the King of Staten Island?
Yeah. So. Yeah, I can start with this one. King of Staten Island is Pete Davidson's movie. I think we talked about it a little bit last week and how we were anticipating it. It looked good. It looked funny. I liked it. It didn't blow me away. Just to give you a short recap, it didn't blow me away. It had really good funny moments. Pete Davidson is charming. It was kind of, without giving too much of a spoiler away, it was an interesting journey for him over the course of the movie, because they definitely start him out as a character without really any tortured past, not a lot of redeeming characteristics in the future. So like kind of a classic, pushing the people around him away, being kind of a jerk to them, and then slowly establishing relationships, learning from his mistakes, etc., and adding his own charm to it. So I liked it. I didn't love it, but I thought there were a couple of things that didn't really land with me. But it was pretty good, especially for right now, where we're not seeing a ton of new releases week to week. Overall, I think it was solid. What did you think, Hummer?
So I took a little bit different feeling of satisfaction away from it. I think the first thing to note though, it is a comedy, but I think first and foremost they should be switching that, and it's a drama that has comedy baked into it.
Yeah,
because of the subject matter. I mean, it's supposed to be resembling some sort, and I don't know how accurate it is to the details, but it's supposed to be more of like a biopic of Pete Davidson.
Yeah,
it's his father. His father actually did die in 9/11. The movie is focusing on how that's impacted his life.
mm-hmm.
And and he tries to do that from the standpoint of how that affected his life. And so I did like that. The cast was phenomenal.
The cast is really good.
Like Bill Burr. I mean, that's where you thought it was going to be hysterical, is like Bill Burr.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Burr's character isn't really incredibly funny. He's just Bill Burr.
He's not trying to be funny. He played it straight, and he did a great job.
Yeah, he curses a lot like a New Yorker.
Marissa Tomei still got it. She's always good.
Chef's kiss.
Steve Buscemi comes in like a smaller role, but like every scene he's in, and there's a scene in a bar at the end where he's telling Pete Davidson about how he knew his dad, and that it's not funny. It's just really good, strong acting. There's some really good heartfelt moments. That's a good analysis, Hummer. I would totally agree with you. It deals with some really heavy themes and like sprinkles in a lot of comedic moments. Yeah, I agree.
And I actually did like that Steve Buscemi was cast for that role because he is a firefighter, or was. I don't know if he still is, but I know he was a firefighter.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Uh,
Little Steve Buscemi.
yeah, little Steve Buscemi, actually
wiry.
a firefighter. I think he started when he was like 18, and he was a firefighter in Manhattan in the 80s.
Oh wow!
And he actually went and helped search after 9/11. He went down there and I guess you could say put the jacket back on. And so we're actually, as my wife and I watched it, we're knowing that fact. We're trying to picture like some of these firehouses. Like, is that the firehouse where his father actually was, or was that Steve Buscemi's actual firehouse for the? I think he still does a volunteer firefighting. So yeah, just some interesting stuff. But yeah, it's a good movie. Look, you're in quarantine. The only gripe that I would have about it, or some people are going to have a gripe about, is, and I'm glad that they did do it this way, but it is $20 to rent the movie currently. So they're assuming that basically it's a theatrical release in your home, in your living room. But my wife and I treated it like that. I wouldn't say we dressed up to the nines, but I did my hair. My wife will let me. Yeah, we made some popcorn beforehand, and
nice.
What did she wear?
Oh. But no, it was kind of nice to treat it like an actual trip to the movies. The only difference here is when you had to pee because you were drinking too much cola, you got to pause it. So it was nice to do that. But yeah, it does cost $20. You can rent it basically, I think, anywhere where digital movies are sold. We rented it from evil corporation Apple.
Oh man, so evil. Yeah, I think the price tag jars you a little bit when you're downloading it off your Amazon and you're not used to seeing it, but it's a new release. This is the first time anyone's seeing the movie. Probably would have been released in theaters and other circumstances. I think it's totally reasonable.
I mean, frankly though, I don't mind it because I wouldn't mind other movies in the future to possibly go this route too. Like, marginal films that maybe I don't want to go to the theater to see, but I want to see them right away. Even I'm a big fan of going to the movie theaters in general, but some movies are just like, like I want to see it, but I'll wait for it to come out until I can watch it at home. All right, this way they got me. I'll watch it at home for $20.
I really love the home release because a lot of times, even before quarantine, it's hard to get to the theater. I mean, if you're busy, work a lot, got a family, like if I wanted to go to the movies, or if my wife did, one of us has to stay home with the kids while the other one goes out with their friends. Like, it's hard for us to get a date night, get a babysitter, and both of us go see a movie. So if we can get an at-home release, that's amazing. But if it's a big actiony movie, or a Marvel movie or something, that needs to be seen on the big screen.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I love going to the movies. It's still fun.
So I was going to say, on a scale from 1 to Manchester by the Sea, how emotionally devastating would you rate this movie?
It's honestly not emotionally devastating at all.
No?
There's some moments that could move you to tears, but it's not an emotionally devastating movie because the way they incorporate the comedy, I think they're more trying to not focus on necessarily the death of his father, but more on the struggle of the individual dealing with that death. And so I think it wasn't really emotionally devastating in my opinion at all.
Yeah, very well said, Hummer. I totally agree with that. They did an interesting, it didn't seem like their point was to make you feel bad and cry. It was really just to take you through the journey that Pete Davidson went through and how he dealt with it. So they communicated a lot of meaning and sincerity with how he deals with his dad's death, but it was never dropped you down in the dumps.
This isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer. Making him a really bad tattoo artist. His goal is to be a tattoo artist, but he's really, really bad at it.
That's so painful to watch when he tattoos all of his friends and he tattoos other characters in the movies and then they show the tattoos and they're, I don't know, not good.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty good.
It's a good it's a good joke.
Yeah, no, I mean if we're going on the ratings though, I'm not saying this is a movie that you need to drop everything and go and watch. by any means. Is it worth your time? Yes. So, I'd give it a solid 3.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 is a wait till it's on sale.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with him.
$20 is steep for a movie to watch in your living room one time. If it goes down, once it hits home release and drops down to normal rental price, it's definitely worth renting.
Yeah, yep, I agree.
So what are you gonna give it? Awesome, Tito. What other stuff's worth or not worth sinking your time into?
I was in an interesting situation this weekend where my mother-in-law, who I
Heyo.
love,
Boing.
she was in town over the weekend, and so I actually had like a list of things I wanted to see. I wanted to watch King of Staten Island. I wanted to watch Da 5 Bloods, which came out on Netflix this past week. I wanted to watch Artemis Fowl, and something that you recommended, we'll talk about in a little bit, The Platform on Netflix. And also, we were getting towards the end of season 6 of Community, and I wanted to wrap that up. So, like, you the mother-in-law comes around, you're on your best behavior. You don't want her to think you're like a fucking weirdo. And like all of those movies are either weird or super violent or like deal with heavily complex racial themes. And you don't want your very, very polite but very Caucasian mother-in-law getting into a complex conversation with her. So we watched a lot of Food Network basically, which is great. So in between watching Food Network, I watched the first 5 minutes of Da 5 Bloods, which I thought I'm excited to watch it. I'll watch it this week. We can talk about it next week. But that looked really cool. The premise of that is there are 5 black soldiers who fought in Vietnam. The movie starts with the 5 of them going back to Ho Chi Minh City when they're older, like in present day, and then it's a flashback. And so it briefly flashes back to their young selves. And the way that it presented it, I was just really interested to see like what they went through, what it was like, learn a little bit more about the history, learn more about I don't know how true to life it is, but a little bit about like black soldiers' experience in the military is always interesting. I watched the first 5 minutes of Artemis Fowl because my kids were freaking out while that was happening. So the premise of that movie, that's new on Disney Plus, and the premise of that movie is that there's a family of thieves, the Fowl family. And the kid is named Artemis Fowl. He's like a 12-year-old, and he's a genius. And so, like, I was like, oh, okay. And then the dad goes missing. And I was like, okay, this is going to be an adventure. Boy genius finds his dad. So I, like, left the room, came back 10 minutes later, and there were, like, several goblins and, like, winged fairies flying around. And it just took a big left turn. I left and came back. There was a giant troll, like, smashing a castle. It was – so – I actually am curious to go back and watch that one and see exactly how all of those lines connect. But yeah, the King of Staten Island was the one that I watched all the way through. And there's a couple other good releases this week that came out that I'm excited to watch now that I can watch them without my mother-in-law thinking I'm a big fucking weirdo. When we talk about the platform,
is that Backdoor Action 17?
We watched 16 and she did not like it. So, man, if you can't handle 16, you should not be watching 17.
But if you can handle 15, apparently you should watch number 16.
If you can handle 15, then you are engaged to Sauce.
Hey. What you guys talking about?
So yeah, so that was kind of what I checked out this week.
So not
Sauce,
enough.
Do you want to talk about the?
Yeah. I'll get that. But so you didn't really. I mean, you can't really score them off 5 minutes. So, but are you gonna go back and watch them?
Well, I'll watch them this week, and we can loop back around. But I'm really interested in seeing the rest of those.
Yeah. I was struggling with what to kind of review this week because I needed to catch up on a lot of movies that apparently I've been shamed for, not only by you guys but people at work that listen to the show. What do you mean you haven't watched Top Gun What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah. How was it? How was Top Gun?
So I still haven't watched it yet.
Hey, this isn't gonna be like us picturing. You know what, Tito? We should picture Top Gun where Vin Diesel or The Rock is the lead character.
It's tough to picture because The Rock wouldn't fit in a cockpit. It wouldn't fit.
Rock would be the flight instructor. He would be the one of the flight instructors.
He would. Tom Cruise is, he's a little guy. He's handsome in the face. He's kept that face going for 50 years now. But he fits into small spaces. The Rock does not. They're different body types. Whatever you like.
Every week, Sauce is going to say he's going to watch Top Gun, and every week he's going to come back and be like, "Gotcha."
Psych.
Yeah, you gotta watch Top Gun, man.
So I didn't watch Top Gun or Princess Bride. I've been super busy at work, so the irony of the show is trying to recommend shows for people that are busy when I'm been too busy to watch stuff to recommend. But something that was recommended to me was on a Netflix movie called The Platform. I had never heard of it. I never saw an ad for it. So my buddy at work told me about this movie and it sounded interesting, so I checked it out. So it's really so the premise of the movie is there's a prison. There's at least 200 floors or levels to the prison, and it is a vertical 200 floor prison, and there's 2 cellmates per room, and there's a giant hole in the middle. So at the very, very, very top of the floor, there is food being prepared, like some of the best stuff in the world, tons of chefs making a giant table's worth of meals, enough for at least 200 people. So the platform stops at the first floor, and the 2 people there eat, and then drops down to the next floor and they eat. So more and more people are eating the food as the platform goes down to the bottom prisoners, where as it's going down, the people at the top are eating more than they should, and it's not making it to the bottom. So that causes a lot of chaos in the prison. And what sold me on it, watching it, is because my buddy was telling me it's a really fucked up movie. Lots of crazy shit's happening during this movie, and what would happen to the people who are starving and hungry and not getting their share. And what makes it crazy is every month, at the end of the month, the prisoners are gassed and the prison's rearranged. So you could have been on a higher floor eating really well that month, and then the next month you're on one of the lower levels and you're not getting any food. So a lot of murder, a lot of cannibalism, a lot of suicide. The entire movie is basically a very, very obvious allegory for capitalism. So
very heavy-handed metaphor, yes.
Yeah, very. So if you're looking for some subtle
I was going to say, you would think that the prisoners on top, and I haven't seen this movie yet, so now that you're talking about it, I probably will watch it and then get irritated. But you would think that since they either maybe have had the experience of being on the bottom, or there's a chance that they could be on the bottom, that they would be like, okay, I'm going to take enough food. And then more and more and more and more. But really, I want to see the movie about the people who run the prison.
Yeah, so you're not going to get that. The movie's not about that. So you're only going to get the prisoners, but it is going to kind of answer why they're not moderating themselves.
That movie's called The Social Network.
Hey-o.
Zing.
But it's a very entertaining movie, but it's a Spanish movie, so you can watch it in English with English audio, but I chose not to because I can understand some light Spanish.
Obvio.
Obvio. And so I watched it in Spanish with subtitles, and I think that's a better way to watch it. Otherwise, the audio is not going to be synced with their mouths. It's going to look weird, but I would recommend watching it in Spanish. But what did you think, Tito?
I really liked the first half of it. So it's like you said, the way I watched it was you told me that your buddy recommended it, so I was pooping and I watched the first 5 minutes of it, but it was so crazy that I proceeded to ignore my wife, mother-in-law, and kids and just watch it on my phone with my headphones in while they were all bonding. So the beginning is really interesting. So it opens. The main character is in. You realize he's in a prison, and he looks and he has a cellmate. His cellmate's an old man, and then you learn a little bit more about the room over the first 5 minutes, and you just see that there's a sink in the corner. There are 2 beds, and in the middle there's a really large hole. And he looks down. There's another floor below him. He can see people down there, and then there's a hole in that floor, and the hole just goes all the way down. Same thing. He looks up. He can see the people above him, and then holes go all the way up. And he's on the 48th floor. And then the old man really does a good job of giving exposition. He says 48th floor is a good floor. The platform drops down with like bones picked clean, like food strewn about. The old man like really grossly starts eating the food. The younger main character guy doesn't want to eat it. So, and then he tells him that this is how it happens every day, that it's passed through 47 other floors, but there's food. And if you want the food, you'll have to eat it. And then the young man asks him how many floors there are. And the old guy says that he was on the 120th floor. And by the time you get down there, no food happens. And then it's like, oh, well, how did you survive to make it to this floor again? And it starts off really good. And like Sauce is saying, it's a very heavy-handed metaphor for capitalism. Why don't the people at the top give more to the people at the bottom? It seems like there's enough for everybody.
It's called trickle-down foodnomics.
So it
works.
The way I was really curious to see how the ending goes. So soft spoilers going forward. I was really curious to see how it ended, because there was so much buildup and so much excitement, and I was just kind of sour on the ending. It really didn't deliver for me. It just kind of ended. Nothing really seemed to change. And what the at some point in the movie, the main character establishes this goal. He works towards this goal. The goal seems kind of silly to me, and I'm not sure exactly what he was trying to accomplish. But the premise is really interesting, and the way that it's shot is really well done, and the acting was good. It felt like a poor man's Parasite, like a more intense, not subtle metaphor for capitalism in another language. And it was interesting. It was violent. It was gory. I liked it, but the ending not being the strongest, and me just knowing subtitled movies aren't for everybody, I'd give it a 3. Watch the first 5 minutes, and if you're hooked, you're hooked. I think, we'll stick with it.
Oh, I just watched the trailer, and I'm totally gonna watch the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. So what you said, in retrospect, it kind of I don't want to say loses steam halfway through, because it doesn't lose steam. The action's rising, but it loses
Credibility.
Yeah, it loses credibility. But in the moment, by the time I was just watching it halfway through, I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Where's this going? Like, I need to know. And I think, maybe because you're more of a negative person, you're not very happy with the ending. But I think as me, a positive person, I saw the positive message that it was trying to portray. That is a big spoiler. I can't talk about it. So,
shut your mouth.
It is exciting. As I was watching it, I kept pausing it and giving my wife updates and oh, now this happened, and now the old man said this, and she was like, can you please turn that off and get my mother a glass of water? And then I'd be like, oh, he can't hear you, But it's good moment to moment. It definitely draws you in.
Yeah, but I would also give it it's definitely not for everybody. It's definitely fucked up.
It's really messed up.
If you don't have a strong stomach, don't watch it. That stuff doesn't faze me at all.
More like the Human Centipede fucked up?
No.
Or more like Saw fucked up?
It's more like they hit the cannibalism pretty hard in this movie. Yeah. At a certain point.
Okay.
There's some visible poop. at one point. That's all I'll say. That's the
I mean,
funniest
it's
I
part.
forgot about
I
that.
mean, the poop is not really visible in Saw or in Human Centipede.
Yeah, it's not subtle. It's like
If you like wiener dogs, there's one part that will damage your soul. But other than that,
Oh, my brother just got a wiener dog puppy.
oh, the wiener dogs are the best. I have a wiener dog. He's amazing.
he's the best.
But yeah, I'd also give it a 3 out of 5.
Wow. I mean, it's already free if you have Netflix.
I know, right? Okay, 2 out of 5. You happy?
Exto facto, this is a 5 because you needed to wait till it gets cheaper. And it's here.
There you go.
Moving on. So Hummer. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So excited for you. You finally got to sit down and watch all 3 John Wick movies. So we're going to spend the last part of this show just kind of breaking down the John Wick movies and if the John Wick trilogy, soon to be a quadrilogy, is worth your time.
Not only did I watch them back to back to back in one day. Because
I honestly wondered if you were going to do this.
after the first one, I'm like, can't stop now.
You're right. You're just like John Wick.
Then after the second one, when you hit the ending of the second one, you have to just jump right into the third one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all of them, because the first one, like, I was texting Sauce about this, and I might have sent it to the group. I don't remember, but basically, this might sound terrible, but it made me want to go play a video game with like very satisfying headshot mechanics, like a Halo on battle rifles with no shields. Like just one shot, one kill. Someone told me it was explained to me called Gung Fu. The beginning of John Wick got me very, very angry.
As it should.
Like, what the fuck? They killed his dog?
Spoilers.
Don't care. Like
that happens very early on.
Yeah, at this point, you've heard them talk. You've heard everybody who's listening to this podcast has heard you guys talk enough about John Wick that it was a 5 that you had to drop what you're doing to go watch it. So if you're here today and you haven't watched John Wick, that's on you. Spoiler alerts.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, they killed his dog. No wonder this man is so pissed.
And it was Theon Greyjoy that killed his dog too, which made it worse.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
That actually kind of made it better just because you just knew what was going to happen to him. Like the so I know his death was swift in the end, but the psychological terror that he had to been under when his father just grips him and just goes, he will find you. He will kill you.
With a pencil.
And
Baba
like,
Yaga.
the Boyega. I lost my mind when he said that.
He's a man of focus, commitment, of sheer will.
He once killed a man 3 men in a bar with nothing but a pencil. That was actually the highlight. Actually, I picked out of John Wick 2 is they actually showed him kill 2 men in a bar with nothing but a pencil.
That's the payoff.
Dude, it was so good. Gross.
It's a callback.
It's so good.
Yeah, John Wick is amazing. So I remember seeing the first movie come out. It did not get like a bunch of fanfare. It was like Keanu Reeves comeback action movie, got really good reviews. My wife and I weren't doing anything that night, so we just went to see the movie, and it's amazing. You can tell that like they had a relatively low budget, but they just like used it. So I wouldn't even say you can tell, just like looking back on it, if you really think about what they did in the movie, nothing was like gigantic, crazy, flashy, but like it looks so good, and it sets up this mythology for the whole rest of the universe. So like it's just to very basically sum up the premise. He was a hitman for the mob. He found love. He was an assassin for the mob. He found love, retired, got out of the game, through some big deals.
It's kind of set. I think you're missing that. It's set in more of like a future ish
Well,
alternate world.
So you don't
where
know
like
that
there's
at first.
it's almost like the movie Wanted, where there's this because it's the Continental or the Creed or the higher people or whatever.
I
Yeah.
like that it builds to that because, like, right when you first start off, like, really when the movie first begins, you think it's, like the mob, the Russian mob, whatever. He was a hitman. Gets out of the game. His wife passes away. She gives him a dog, and then the dog dies. That's a little bit of spoilers, but that's all in the first 10 minutes of the first movie. And then what they do is the first time he gets in a fight, he kills a bunch of guys, and someone just shows up at his door, and he hands them a stack of 10 gold coins to get rid of the bodies. And that's when you know that there's like something more going on. And then through the first movie, it kind of reminds me, in my head, it reminds me a little bit of Game of Thrones, not in any like story similarities, but in Game of Thrones, they like hint at something, they hint at something, they hint at something. Is there magic? Is this just people? Whatever. And then like towards the end of the first book, towards the end of the first season, they're like, oh, there is magic. There are dragons. There's something else, like a whole separate world happening behind that. And in John Wick, I feel like that happens. Like they hint at stuff. There might be stuff that happens. They build on it. And then like, you're in the third movie.
They pretty much hinted at it pretty early on in the first one when the main gangster puts the hit out for John Wick. I mean, they show them like with the book, they show them like putting it out there into like the cable news network. They show them sending it to a bunch of cell phones who then in the lobby of the hotel room that John Wick is at, everybody gets it, but then they also make sure to mention that there's no business being conducted on hotel grounds. So, I mean, I think they're pretty open with it. I just think they're like, I think you are 100% right that they did such a good job of taking that story and building upon it a little more each episode where, it's culminating in this third and obviously not final installment now, but
they have to put more installments in. They've done such a good job.
God, Gung Fu is so cool.
Let me give you my quick hot takes that you guys can argue with me about or not. So I think the first movie is a perfectly self-contained movie. It's basically a perfect movie.
Yeah,
it's got a great start. It's got a great finish. The whole story, everything about it is amazing. Just watch the first one, and that's all you really need. You don't have to watch 2. You don't have to watch 3. The second movie, still really good, still John Wick, but they definitely spend too much time trying to flesh out more of the world. They're like, well, this is an international crime syndicate that John Wick was a part of. It wasn't just the mob. It wasn't just the city he was in. So here's what everybody's doing, which kind of distracted and took away a little bit from the movie, and the story wasn't as cohesive because they were trying to focus so much on building and fleshing out this world. And then the third movie is, okay, we've established this world, we're going to play around in it more, but now we're just going to show like John Wick basically killing people in all kinds of new and crazy ways, with horses, on horseback, with dogs, doing all these turning into just like a finisher movie.
The horse ass slap kills are the greatest kills in any action movie. Like, so satisfying when he just slaps the horse's ass and two hoof kicks a guy into the wall, and I'm like, oh, that definitely killed him.
The action raises the game. I feel like the first movie, it really pushes things. Like it raises the bar for action movies going here on out. It's so satisfying the way that he fights, uses his gun, finishes guys off. They really give the idea that he's just this one-man army, that he really is like stronger, better. You expect him to win every fight. And I guess that's like any action movie, but the way that they have him fighting, have his movement is just so convincing. It's really satisfying.
Do you guys know what he did and how he trained going into those movies?
No. You mentioned it, but no, not really.
So if you're into firearms at all, there's shooting competitions. It's called 3-gun competitions where you have to quickly shoot targets using a pistol, a shotgun, and an assault rifle. So he would run these courses. So like in the movie, at least in the third one, he speed loads 8 shotgun shells into his gun, which is like super hard. And especially to do it that quickly, because that's the part of the competitions he was doing. So he trained like for days and hours and hours and hours to proficiently use real firearms. and it comes across in the movie. And that's why he's so good at it in the movie, and it looks so amazing and amplifies the action because he's got those real life actions down.
All the movies have these such memorable moments. I think my favorite part of the second movie is the montage when he's getting ready to basically there's a target in the second movie that he has to take out, and there's a montage where it's James Bond-esque but like way more fucking awesome, where he's picking out his guns, picking out his knives, and then like picking out his suit. And when the tailor for the suit is like what lining, and he just goes tactical. It's very satisfying.
And how about dessert?
Yeah, there's clearly an intentional choice to make it very stylized and cool looking, like to make the action satisfying, to make John Wick look cool, to make the like the choices going into things not super realistic, but just like very interesting to watch. Yeah, I mean, it's just awesome.
They're great, and they're very, in my opinion, formulaic. Each movie kind of follows the same arc. You're not really seeing this kind of, and this is okay because you don't really need this part, but you're not really necessarily seeing a real character arc, if you would per se, from John Wick. It's just always about surviving and killing the next person who's offering a contract on his head. But it just like I like how each movie, and like yes, they're built upon the past movies, but each movie is also like a self-contained story that in the universe, you don't really need one to watch two to know, when you start that John Wick's this badass ex-assassin, but now he has to give a little marker out or whatever. So I kind of like that, but then I do love how basically you're watching three movies that all take place what appears to be within a matter of like 3 days.
Oh yeah.
In the universe, like you're literally moving on from the next day. He's someone's at his door as soon as he's finished killing the Russian mobster's son. Next day there's someone at his door wanting the Italian mob is now at his door. Then he gets excommunicado and he's immediately on the streets of New York the next scene and the start of the next movie. So I do like how that aspect, that it appears to be over a very short period of time that all these movies are taking place.
I think days pass in each movie, but yeah, you're right. Each movie tail ends into the next day in the other movie. But my worry about John Wick is it's kind of like how it is with all these action movies, like with Die Hard and with the Bond movies and all the Mission Impossible, is that since the main character can't die because he has very heavy plot armor, the things that they do become more and more ridiculous. It's why superhero movies can get away with the main character like doing all these crazy things and living forever because they have superpowers. But when it's like a real human man, realistically, there's no way John Wick could have not been killed by now with so many people shooting at him. It makes it more and more ridiculous. So basically in the fourth movie, you just have to suspend that disbelief in order to just enjoy the popcorn action flick that you're going to see, which I'm sure is still going to be amazing.
In Fast and the Furious 8, The Rock deflects a torpedo with his bare hand.
See?
I do think...
I loved it.
I do think John Wick's a little different in that respect because... like it's very subtle, like you mentioned in the first movie, and they're building up to it, is that they don't live in normal Earth per se. There is this like shadowy empire that works different, where there's these like, did anybody ever think that there's like literally hundreds of these crazy good assassins? Like people are just getting assassinated every day in this world. Like yes, there are probably assassins, but there's a ton of hotels. This is a giant network of assassins, like a LinkedIn-worthy group with 20,000 plus members of assassins. So, I mean, like John Wick, in a sense, does kind of have superhuman powers within that network of elite assassins. The fact that everybody is hyper vigilant of his talent. They almost gun after him because they want the competition. They want to be the one to take down John Wick. So I mean, I don't think it's they're also, I think, putting into there, like you're mentioning Game of Thrones with magic. In one of the first scenes, or one of the first part, not first scenes, but in the first movie when he gets injured, when I believe he's stabbed, and he asks the doctor, like, can I move? And the doctor basically says, like, whatever he's done to you, you can move, but it's going to hurt. Like, so you have this wound that would normally be probably mortally a fatal wound. Doctor comes in, gives him some medicine, heals him up. He can go move. Great. All within a matter of like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Then in the third movie, they set it up again where he's basically been shot a couple times. He has to have the doc fix him up. Doc gives him all that stuff. Like, so I think they are kind of alluding that there's medicine, there's advanced stuff out there that can make him more along the lines. But if he deflects a torpedo,
I'm into it.
I mean, maybe. I'd like to see him maybe just, jump from the top of a 50-story building and just straight on the ground survive.
Oh
Broken
my
leg.
God. I laughed so hard in the other guys when they jump off that building.
Aim for the bushes.
That's what I was thinking about.
That's the funniest part of that movie.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
So Hummer, what are you gonna rate the 3 John Wick movies now that you've seen them?
I mean, they're entertaining as hell. You're not really. I don't really think you're watching John Wick for the in-depth story plot lines. If you are, great, because they're pretty fun. But from a trilogy perspective, and I know we're also saying that it's not really a trilogy because they're going to have a 4th one, but it's not a drama-laden series. But I mean, honestly, if you haven't watched them by now, that's why I just said there's spoilers in the show, because you should have watched them. You guys said it enough that they should have watched them. I give them all a 5. You got to watch them.
They're amazing. They're so good. The first one sets up the other two. The first one sets up the other two extremely well. So if you see the first one, you just got to follow through.
What I was also excited about, though, and moving a little bit past John Wick.
Oh, hold on. Don't move past it yet.
It was still connected to it.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm actually excited to see that Keanu Reeves is not only doing the 4th one, but they also, while watching these, it was revealed to me that he is signed up for The Matrix 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bill and Ted 3.
Yes. Kiwi Reeves is back, baby.
It's going to be the decade of Keanu. But yeah, I would give the first John Wick a 5, obviously. I'd give the second John Wick a 4.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. But I'd give the third John Wick another 5.
Yay.
But you know what? They like some trilogies know at the very first movie when they're making the movie that it is a trilogy. They know they're going to seed in all those little clues towards the overall arc of the 3 movies. John Wick was made to be a movie, and it just became so successful that they ended up turning it into a trilogy. But it wasn't. You can tell that they like, oh crap, how are we going to write this into more movies? So that
I think you're right there, because the way they introduced the second movie is it was a very generic opening. It wasn't really tied to anything referenced in the other movie.
When he actually says, the character who says Parabellum in John Wick 3, it's also an amazingly satisfying moment. When he just like looks into the camera and he's like says the line. Nah, never mind. I'm not going to try to deliver the line, but and I won't spoil it for people. But when you see where Parabellum, why it's called John Wick 3 Parabellum, and where it fits into the storyline, it's just a very satisfying payoff. It's great.
Yeah, and frankly, like it's the action is just so satisfying in this movie. Like Sauce hit the nail on the head when he's talking in ton of story about with the way he trained for this movie. Like you can tell, like he doesn't look like a fake actor handling weapons. He looks like a guy who knows gung fu.
So what would you rate it? Did you say you'd rate them all 5s, Tito?
Yeah, I give them all 5s.
It's an easy one. I mean, because once you start watching them, just like it's so good and so satisfying and
very satisfying. After John Wick 3, I smoked a cigarette in the theater and just passed out for a couple minutes.
Yeah, the Wicks are absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you're right.
It's incredible.
So, out of everything we talked about this week, what would you guys recommend that somebody watch this week or play?
I'll be slightly annoying. So obviously, if you haven't seen John Wick, just go watch John Wick. And then I think out of new stuff for me, really the new things are between King of Staten Island and The Platform. And I think The Platform is way weirder, but I think I liked watching it more than King of Staten Island. Personally. I don't know. What do you think, Hummer?
I mean, I haven't watched Platform yet, but I'm going to.
That's
Honestly,
a good point.
a movie we didn't talk about that I would suggest also watching is V for Vendetta. That's a really good. I know it's out there. I was the same because I did watch it this week. But
it's a throwback
because we've already flat out and said that like the answer to this question for most of us should be John Wick because we gave it a 5. It means stop what you're doing now and go watch it. The movie King of Staten Island isn't going to be for everybody because it's a drama. Like I said, I think it's a drama first with comedy, but it's really good. So if you're in for a new movie, I think that's what you should be watching. If you want to go watch an older movie that's kind of now becoming a little more relevant with what people are kind of feeling today, V for Vendetta, fantastic movie about political unrest. What did you call it? Undertones of capitalism and
yeah. It's
The Platform's not an undertone. That's an overtone.
But so yeah, I'm going Excommunicado.
Yeah, I hear you. Surveillance state, heavy-handedness of the government. Yeah, V for Vendetta's definitely got a little place right now. Sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to suggest binge all 3 John Wicks, even if you've seen them before. Watch them again. And still playing Last of Us. I finished it because the new one comes out Friday. Super excited to play it. If you need to go buy a PlayStation to play it, it's absolutely worth it. Yeah, we ran out of time, and I wanted to talk about Last of Us more because I didn't do it enough justice last week. I mean, oh my gosh, such a good game. So yeah, Homer, you need to figure out how to play Last of Us so you can play the second one because it's getting amazing reviews.
Let's see how much PlayStation 4 is on Best Buy.
Good. Just get a refurbished one from GameStop.
If you want something to destroy you emotionally, the Last of Us, the original Last of Us is, man, it gets you.
All right. Thanks for listening this week, everybody. Check us out on social media at Timesink Pod. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you want us to check out, what you want us to review. Thanks for all of our listeners in France, and make sure to download us on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Beautiful. You nailed it.